taking our emergency calls is the fact you saw up there under the governance heading, the first 2 bullets, which said, Dearborn has complete governance of the center. In other words, we don't have any say whatsoever. Now, at a council meeting, it was mentioned that there are downriver communities that have combined some of their dispatch centers. So I made contact with all these communities, and what I found out, yes, they are all under one center, but each city has an individual vote in how that center is run. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. The difference is, one of the differences is, those cities are a combined center. This is not a combined center. This is not a merger. We are negating a position from this city entirely and outsourcing our services to another.
So in other words, we're not partners, we're customers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. I think that's a very important thing. And another point I'd like to make is when we did the Headley override, we were promised we were going to keep all our emergency services. This Headley override continues to give the city $1.3 million a year extra. We also get about $1 million a year from the cable companies. That alone would take care of any cost savings there are for going to this terrible deal. So I really feel that this is not for the benefit of the residents of Dearborn Heights. We're not being thought of here.
No.
And the other thing is that bothers me is I don't know how many of you know that we have an emergency operation center in our city. And when I belonged to the CERTs, we were given a tour of this. And it's basically a small version of mission control, NASA mission control. Now I realize it's been several years and there are going to be some updates, but the city of Dearborn Heights residents paid dearly to have this put in. This center could handle our dispatching, and plus at the same time it could be used for the purpose it was originally built for. I see no reason for us to even get in with Dearborn with something like this when we have such a gem like this in our own city. Thank you.
Green. I've lived in this city for 40 years. But I have first-hand information how great the system works. My brother was a dispatcher for Clinton Township for 29 and a quarter years. Clinton Township merged or was consolidated into one with Macomb County. He lost his job at the age of 53, and people that had 2 and 3 years seniority kept their jobs. What happens is they're happy that they're getting these low-paying employees. They have to send them through training. The training costs are about $20,000 for basic training for the dispatchers. The problem is there's all these dispatchers that are on this low pay scale get the training through Macomb County, and when an opening happens in a city that's not under that jurisdiction, they fly to the new job. So the turnover of employees is just unbelievable. The experience is not there. And again, with the different cities having same street addresses, there has been a big problem with response. And I know the Clinton Township now has 2 lawsuits for people that have died because they did not get that emergency call into the right city. So our lives are at stake.
I've been a resident here approximately 30 years now. I've lived in the north end, I've lived in the south end.
so I'm familiar with most of it. Just a few thoughts that I jotted down here. There is such a thing as being too big for your britches. You know, it's not always, big is not always better. When you're talking, especially with healthcare, with accidents, trauma, time for stroke, time lost is brain lost. With the heart, time lost is heart tissue lost. So you're talking something that could impact a human being very dramatically if they have to wait another 3-4 minutes. What if they're not breathing? You only have 5 minutes to get that person the proper attention, or they're basically going to either be brain dead or really dead. They were there when I needed them. My mother had a stroke 10 years ago. She did end up passing away, but it was not through any fault of the city of Dearborn Heights or their dispatch or their fire or EMS. They did the best that they could and was very appreciated, but she might have died right there in the house if she had to wait. Are they going to be adequately staffed? What if there's a dramatic catastrophe like a tornado or a flood or a fire, and it's affecting the whole area of these cities that are involved? Who's going to get they're going to be overwhelmed. Who's going to get the response, and how long are they going to have to wait? Are we trading a Rolls Royce for a Honda? We've got a really good police, fire, EMS, and dispatch. Why we don't need anything more? What if we're sorry later and all our stuff is sold, $750,000 of equipment for $180,000? Where are we going to get the money to start over again? And furthermore, we don't need Dearborn. Dearborn's wanting us. Also, regarding the jurisdictional issues, I had the opportunity of having to call 911 for a car accident on the Farmington Hills, West Bloomfield border. Of course, the cell tower to pick me up was in West Bloomfield, and Farmington Hills did get there pretty quick, but it took time for, it to get transferred. People are excited in these circumstances, but sometimes they don't know where they are. Sometimes they need experienced help to guide them and to stay on the line and help them with CPR or help them, with whatever is going on at an accident scene. This is the time that they need somebody that knows what they're doing, such as that lady that spoke before, and that has experience, and it's not somebody that's just got started, hired in for $10, and while they got, they're happy to get a job and then on to the next thing as soon as they get more money. So I know I reiterated some of the other points, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to make my point known.
Really been a big help to everybody, and I would like to speak for the disabled, since I've had 9/11 in my house many times, and it's been a matter of life and death. And it's not just because you're old or you're young or you're in the middle or wherever you're at, but this is a matter of life and death situation. And I hope that the city council sees it that way and they vote accordingly. And I'd like to thank you again, Lisa.
Ready?
I got the watch. Subtitles. My big concern, and there's many, and my big concern is the precedents. I worked for the incinerator when it was in Berwyn Heights, and we formed the Western Wayne County Sanitation Authority, and they took millions of dollars from Dearborn Heights residents, as well as the other communities, and they ran the incinerator in the ground, and we're still paying for it, and we're still paying for it as well as to take care of our garbage. And then they have, we have bought this CSO basin on Hines Drive. And the next issue that we need to have a meeting about in this same room is the downriver wastewater treatment facility. Yeah. So we're getting out of the business of taking care of our residents, and we're going to take care of other communities' sewage. I don't get this. And so these don't work. And what needs to work are the people in this room to educate your neighbors. And we need to really tell our city council to stop voting yes, whether it's and vote no until they get the information. And that's really what they need to do. Whether it's a budget issue or whatever the administration brings across the table, vote no until they get the information they need. Now, we're not advocating to slow the city down to a crawl. We're advocating representation and proper representation. What if it's your mom and your dad, or or someone you love, or your neighbor? And so this issue is just a precedence, and that's what I'm seeing. I've been seeing since I lived in Dearborn Heights for 15 years, and it's time. This has to be an issue that we have to unite in telling our city council to stop voting yes, vote no until they get the information they need. And of course, I have many other things to say, but I don't want to rob this issue of 911. It's such an important issue, but trust me, as it relates to finances, we have many more on the horizon. So I want to encourage you, and thank you, Lisa, for taking the lead on that.